Hello folks, and welcome back to the 50-cent tour. You know, with springtime here, we thought it'd be a great idea to show you some wildflowers. And I'm with Miss Katherine Simmons. Hello, Katherine.
Hello, Pete.
How you doing?
Fine. Welcome to my garden.
Well, thank you. A friend of yours, Miss Becky Raby, called me and said, you ought to talk to Katherine. She's wildflower crazy.
Well, nut.
Well,
A real nut.
What started you with liking wildflowers and such?
Well, about 31 years ago when Melvin was in college, I guess it's 32 now.
Melvin's your husband.
Right. He was fishing at Center Hill, and he brought me a Cristata iris. And you buy a book to look this one up, and you buy lots of books.
And that started all of this.
All of this.
Well, you've been working really hard for 30 years to make everything in bloom here. And what we're going to do is we're going to take you around and take you on the tour and show you some of these pretty flowers and have Katherine tell us some stories behind them. And we're going to follow you right through the spring and watch some of these go from bud to bloom.
Okay, we'll do that.
It's right here on the 50-cent tour. You stay with us.
Okay, we're on top of the hill looking down across my garden. We see, what do we see, Pete? We see bloodroot. Here's our little bloodroot. You want a little story about the bloodroot now?
Tell me all about it.
Okay, let me dig up one. Okay, wait a minute. Pete, you always have your pocket knife in your pocket. Comes in so handy. Usually a lock blade, but this one's my good one. Okay, the reason this is called bloodroot is when you break it, it bleeds, it looks like blood. It makes a good dye stuff. It makes an orange dye, and usually when I use it, or have used it, I broke off about this much and planted this much back. The Indians used it as a war paint. They would take this and they'd paint their face. So it really is a potent dye.
And that's why they call it bloodroot.
Right, that's the common name.
Now what do you dye with it?
I would dye shucks. I make shuck dolls and shuck flowers. And I make a lot of flowers to represent the flowers that are here in the garden. They don't dye on folks. But that was what kind of dye it made. And I think it's pretty good, too, to take off warts, even though I haven't tried it on the few that I've got on my hands.
No kidding.
That's what I read. Okay, we're looking at Dutchman's breeches. Look at the Dutchman's breeches here with the little, I'm going to take that off. It looks like a little panty looms, Pete. See the little panty looms? Little Dutchman's breeches.
How about that?
And one way to propagate this plant is it has, here's a little plant I've dug up. It has it's a tuber here, and just like any lily, you take this apart and you plant these little pink things here, and that makes another little plant. So we'll plant this one out directly and make lots of plants for next year.
So chiefly, when you get seeds, you get real excited.
Right, and this makes a seed. At each one of these little blooms will make a pod that'll have from 6 to 8 seeds. And you plant them immediately after they mature. The ones, if you let them dry out, it takes about 18 months to germinate. Otherwise, they will come up the next year, come up in the spring.
How about that? So no seed goes wasted.
Right, and the ants are some of my best planters. They take the seed for food, they forget where they put it, and then it comes up somewhere else in the garden.
How about that?
All right, this is one of the first things to bloom. This is rue anemone. Our windflower is another name for it because it's always dancing in the wind, and it blooms earliest and stays the longest of the spring flowers.
Now, do you have friends that grow wildflowers too?
Yes, I belong to the Tennessee Native Plant Society, the Alabama Plant Society, and we go on the trips to the woods just to look, no taking, just look, take pictures and leave footsteps.
Well, that's a pretty one.
Right.
What's that called again, a windflower?
Windflower or rue anemone. Okay, that's Trillium cuneatum. He's a pretty trillium. He's native to all of the hillsides around here, and he doesn't smell good. In fact, a lot of people call him a wet dog, has a wet dog smell, and you usually see gnats on this trillium, and that's what pollinates the flower to make a seed.
So bugs in the garden are good.
Right. How to tell these bugs? There's things that close up in at night, and there's things that open at night. There's different kinds of bugs that pollinate different things. That's what a lot of people do a thesis on one plant. One of my friends, botany friends, has done his thesis nothing but on trilliums. And we've tramped all over the woods everywhere, and he has everywhere to look at the different trilliums. That's celandine poppies, or celandine, whichever one you wish to say. This is another plant that is a European plant that is naturalized in the United States. The pioneers or the early people brought it to the United States, and it makes a wonderful dye. It makes a gold color, and it's a permanent dye. You can either use the foliage or they use the root, but I'm selfish. I don't want to dig up my plant to use the root. I just use the foliage.
Let's see if we can get Melvin over here and show us that dye. Well, introduce us, if you will, Katherine.
Well, Pete, this is my husband, Melvin Simmons, of about 34 years.
How you doing, Melvin?
All right, Nate.
Why don't you give us a demonstration on how you make dye out of this?
This is the one thing I get to do on the wildflower tours. See the yellow dye?
Got it.
Also, I get to do my t-shirts.
He messes up all of his shirts. When these ladies come especially, he likes to do
This
this.
is my one thing for the wildflower tour.
Now, is that permanent there, Melvin?
Relatively permanent.
We have a lot of t-shirts with yellow specks.
Well, thanks for ruining the t-shirt for us here on the 50-cent tour. We appreciate it. Now, imagine all the work that you all do here. It really takes quite a long time to get things in bloom.
Yes. A lot of people want to come and they want to look, which is fine to come and look, and we'll drive down our lane and to look. Just leave your shovels at home.
Okay.
We share things, but, you know, I like to share it myself. Here's one you need. This is smell-o-vision, right? This is ramp. If you eat a ramp, it's a member of the onion family. Everybody needs to eat ramps the day that you eat them.
Woo.
And it's wonderful on a hamburger.
Really?
Really is.
No kidding.
There's a ramp festival up in Elizabethton that they go to the Smokies or in the foothills there, and they dig them and they use the bulb, the whole plant.
Is that it right there, that big plant?
This. And they use it in eggs. They scramble it in eggs, and it's great.
You're kidding me.
But it's really good on a hamburger now.
Smell-o-vision, huh?
Smell-o-vision. Smell-o-vision. Okay, Pete, did you see the bee on the spring beauty? He's pollinating those for me. They just pop up everywhere. They make little seeds and go down the hill.
Why wildflowers, Katherine?
Well, I've always loved flowers, and they take less trouble than all the bearded iris and the things I have in the backyard. I guess it's a fascinating thing to go to the woods and see what God created. I'm just rearranging God's creation. can you imagine what it would look like before all the highways and the trees have been cut and the farmland has been farmed? What it must have looked like in the garden.
Gorgeous.
When you find a little ravine that's not had cattle run on it or farmed, it's a rarity in this county because we do have so much agriculture. And what you're coming in on there is the yellow lady slipper, which is a wild orchid, which I would say would be in a bloom in about 10 days. It's according to how warm the weather stays.
Well, you'll have to call us and we'll come back and get an after shot on that.
That's right. That is a beauty called yellow lady slipper or moccasin flower. And I really hope you don't want the botanical names because I can't pronounce them. In ginger, it was said to have been used to replace the ginger that the pioneers didn't have. And we'll pull this little baby up and we'll put it back on smell-o-vision. And it does smell nicely when you break the root. We'll let Pete smell of it.
Ooh, that's spicy.
Right. And to get to see this little bloom, you've got to get down on the ground to look at it. And it will make seeds, but it does a lot of running from the roots this way. And then we have one little fella there of trout lily. And another reason it's called trout lily, you see the little leaf is mottly, looks an awful lot like a trout, speckle like one, and they bloom about the time that the trout would run.
It does look like a brown trout.
Mm-hmm. You starting at the top or bottom?
We'll start up there.
Okay. We've got false anemone at the top. You see the celandine poppies, some trout lilies, and as you come on down, there's Dutchman's breeches, more celandine poppies, another little trillium down here, Trillium pusillum, the little white trillium. He turns pink with age. A lot of people find him and think he is a different variety because he turns pink with age or stress from cold. And
Another
this,
bee on your yellow plant.
yeah, that's the celandine poppy. This is where I started my garden, Pete, about in 1975 after we bought this place. We cleared this, which was all Japanese honeysuckle. We cleared this, and the first year that the things that we planted, we hauled water over here to water what few things that I had moved from the other house. Okay, we've got bishop's cap here, and if you can get in on that little bloom right there, it looks like a bishop's cap that they would wear. It's in the same family as your foam flower and your alum root. And you've got saxifrage, a little plant here that's all in the sunshine that has seeded itself.
So you didn't put that there, it got there by itself.
I planted a few, but they have done their number.
That's what's nice about wildflower.
Right. Okay, Pete, this is, the blue plant is a patica. Blue at this time of the year is a very rare thing in the wildflowers because the blue doesn't attract as many insects. The white flowers attract the insects at this time of year for pollination. This one has an evergreen leaf, and if on the doctoring of the sign of the, what things look like, this was for liver. They thought that looked like a liver, so that one was good for doctoring the liver, which I haven't tried. I haven't had any liver problems.
That's good.
I'll take their word. Okay, Pete, this is a white trout lily. It's like the yellow one, just white. It's a rare thing in this part of the country. Out west, and there are quite a few. different species of the trout lilies, but this is the one white one that we have in our area.
That sure is a pretty flower, Katherine.
I think he's kind of pretty too. But I've never seen an ugly wildflower. Even the old thistles are beautiful.
They sure are. Except when they get in your shoe.
No, when you back up against one of them, you think you're snake bit. Bluebell. I don't know of any blue other than a bluebird that's about that color. And you see the pink in the buds. Kind of reminds you of the bluebird's chest. Virginia bluebell. I have a white form of that, Pete. It's up at the other end of the lane. This is the white form of the bluebell. It's just, it doesn't have color. It's its own, I guess you'd say its own species. It's an albino. You see this, every once in a while you see a mutation in a plant, and that kind of makes it interesting.
Did that just happen naturally?
Yes. This is a spur violet. You see the little long spur on the back of the violet? That's where he gets his name from.
I imagine, Katherine, you even like the weeds, don't you?
Some of them. A weed is a plant that's out of place, Pete. Now, where you didn't want him.
So somewhere it's a beautiful flower.
Right. Even the chickweed. It's not a beautiful flower to me, but it has a pretty little flower on it, and it's supposed to be a good salad green. But I haven't tried it. Melvin always says if I eat it and I don't die in 2 days, he'll try it.
What's that white flower right there?
Where, here?
Uh-huh.
That's a patica. These are the seeds now that's coming on. Won't be long, it'll be time to plant those. Okay, we've got twin leaf just coming out of the ground. It doesn't look like much right there, but up the path here we've got some that's just coming into flower.
All right.
Okay, its flower looks like a lot like the bloodroot flower, Pete.
And you call that a twin leaf?
Twin leaf, because of the little plant has a double leaf.
How about that? Now, what kind of visitors do you get to your garden here, Katherine?
We've had visitors from England, we've had them from Canada, we've had them from Japan, lots of places, all spring long. It's nothing to see a car come down the lane and park and come and walk and look and leave. We're welcome anyone to come and look, but dress comfortably with walking shoes and don't come in high heels.
Good advice.
Because our hill is about a 35-degree angle. I have a nice lane to walk down, but and I have it designed that people that come, the people come from the Formac Center or the nursing homes in their bus, and they drive down through here, and it's planted at all levels that they can see it from the bus or a car, as well as walking.
Well, a lot of folks get to take the tour today because you're so nice, and a lot of folks who can't get out of their house because of you can still enjoy springtime.
I'd be nice. We're glad they can. We hope they'll enjoy our talk today. Okay, this is Shooting Star. The little flower looks like little darts, like you're going to throw darts at a dartboard. And they hang in down there in a cluster. And they have seed, and if you look all around this plant, Pete, there's all kinds of little seedlings coming up this year from last year's seeds. So that's how I get a lot of my plants. Move one plant around.
Sure beats going to the store.
Right. I like them because they come back every year.
Call it perennials.
Right. I'm kind of a lazy gardener when it gets down to it. I want these things to come back.
Well, looking around here, Catherine, it seems to me like you're anything but lazy.
Sometimes I am. Takes a long time for me to go to the mailbox. I guess it's about what, 4/10 of a mile to the mailbox?
Yeah.
2/10, Melvin says. So it takes me a long time to look at everything. You got to go down this way and then back around. Up, down, and around. Say when.
Have at it.
Okay, I'm going to get up here and I'm going to show you squirrel corn, Pete, if I don't break my neck. Okay, this is the little girl britches. The other one's the little boy britches. And the difference in that, there's a little corn on the bottom. On this corn, it looks like a grain of corn.
How about that?
And the squirrels really do like it. They will dig the plant to eat that little corn.
How about that?
So that makes it different from this plant. See the blooms of your Dutchman's britches, and that's squirrel corn.
That came off of that plant.
Mm-hmm. And we're going to plant that one right there.
About how long does it take things to turn around once you get the seed to start seeing results?
Well, different plants, I don't remember on the Dutchman's britches, I would say from 2 years on those. Your shooting star would probably be the 2nd year they would bloom from seed. The trilliums take from 5 to 7 years.
Wow.
So that's why your nurserymen do not usually grow the trillium. They've got too much labor invested to produce that plant to put it on the market.
I can see with a 5 to 7 year investment, that's quite a long time.
Right.
And the price you'd have to charge would be outrageous.
Be out of reason that you wouldn't pay for it. A lot of your plants, 2 years, they'll have them in their beds for about 2 years, and then have them market size. One too.
What are we looking at here?
This is ginger, which is little brown jugs. We're on smell-o-vision again. It has a little bloom. This one's not opened up, but it won't be long, and here's the new leaves. And it has a real pungent odor of ginger. Since Pete's on smell-o-vision, we'll let him smell of that one.
Ooh, it sure does. That's not a bad smell, though.
Oh, it's a good smell.
Yeah.
Trout lily, they do a lot of bragging about their foliage. They just keep running on what is called a stolon. And they set a new plant at the end of that little stolon. And most of the time it'll just be a leaf. That one has bloomed real well. My mom dug those many years ago. She was a very patient digger. They'll grow very deep. They'll be like 12 inches deep in the ground. So it takes some real patient digging to dig those.
Having a story behind every plant is kind of a fun thing about wildflowers, isn't it?
Right. Most of the plants, I could tell you where I acquired the first plant. The first time we saw a rattlesnake in the woods, I had 3 of my senior friends with me, my mom and 2 ladies from Elora that we used to go looking with. And I saw this rattlesnake about as far as the path over there, and I said, "Hey, y'all look at the rattlesnake." They took off and left me and caught me in sawbriars, cutting my arms up real good.
Great
And
friends.
Great friends. All they had was a dandelion digger. You know, they couldn't fight the rattlesnake. But all I wanted them to do was to see where it was. And we do have copperheads on this hill. In fact, last year's the first year we hadn't killed one. You're looking over my bog garden someday. Maybe next year I'll put in plants that grow in wet areas there. We have put in rock wall retaining walls to hold the soil, and I've built paths so I can walk with 2 feet at the same level. I'm tired of looking like a billy goat.
Now the wildflowers a lot of times get out in the paths.
They sure do, and I dig them up and I move them somewhere else.
So that's okay with you.
Right. That's how they multiply, and I move them and start new beds.
Well, folks, we really appreciate you coming along with us, and Katherine Simmons. We can't thank you enough here on the 50-cent tour.
Well, we've enjoyed it, Pete.
Now, we'll be back in a couple of weeks, and we're going to do a little update on how the blossoms are coming here.
All right, that'll be great.
And on our way out, we're going to get some nice still shots for y'all to just enjoy the springtime here with us. And what part of the county would you consider this?
Skin them.
We're in Skinham, folks, here in Lincoln County, Tennessee, and we appreciate you joining us. And Katherine, thank you, and Melvin, the man down on the hill, thank him too.
Thank you, Pete.
That's going to about do it here for this edition of the 50-cent tour.
Great.
Wildflowers. My father told me not to go near them. He said he feared them always. And he told me that they carried him away.
Wildflowers.
Wildflowers. Beautiful wildflowers. I couldn't wait to touch them. To smell them, I held them closely. And now, I cannot break away. Their sweet bouquet disappears, like the vapor in the desert. So, take a warning, son. Wildflowers.
she loves, and she suffers because she does. And I love everything she does. Silent as the wind that blows, I watch her as her life unfolds, wanting to be a part of the never-ending story of her love. She came into my life today. She came and gave me words to say, knowing pages I had written on the never-ending story of her love. She cares because she cares, and she worships the same way that she cares, and she suffers because she cares, and I am the trouble that she wears.